All right, so before I go set the engine and trans, or at least get it mounted in here, I want to fix a few things first. First off, I'm going to end up taking this subwoofer harness out. I don't have any plans to do any kind of sound system on this, and I also want to fix this wiring here. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but these things are the worst things ever to use for electrical, like splicing wires together, especially when you're outside exposed to the elements. These are a very quick and easy way to have corroded wires, stuff not work, and it's just they're junk. So I'm going to put actual butt connectors on. I gotta find them somewhere over here, but I'm going to redo that wiring and put actual connectors on, put these guys on there, and heat shrink it, and it'll be a better permanent fix than whatever within those things that are on there. So that's what I'm going to start with doing today, and then I'll switch over to getting the engine and trans mounted back together and get that set in. That should be the goal for today. See what I've got going on here. I'm going to cut this insulation here back and do my best not to nick the actual wires. So wish me luck. My goal is to just get these wires exposed a little bit more so I have more to work with. See if that's going to be too small. One thing you always want to do if you're splicing wires, make sure you always put the shrink wrap on the wire before you crimp it. Because if you don't and you forget to put the wire on, guess what? You get to cut it off and do it again. Get a good squeeze on it. Make sure it's nice and crimped. Give it a little tug. That works perfectly. Give it a good squeeze, give it a little tug. Put the heat shrink on, heat it up, shrink the tubing, and you're done. There we go. Well, that's more like it. So you can do a couple things with when you're actually doing a heat shrink. You can get like a little flame. I have a heat gun that I brought over. I don't know what I did with it. I gotta find that. I'll be back once I find the heat gun. All right, we're back. I found my heat gun. I never took it out of my truck when I brought everything over. So we're sitting in my truck. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna heat this up, shrink it onto the, nope. Also too, when you are using heat shrink, especially for anything, any electrical stuff outside of the car on the outside, make sure you get the heat shrink that has the glue in it. That glue will, when you heat it up, will melt and it'll kind of help seal the seal everything up, so you don't have to worry about it corroding and moisture getting in there and all that fun stuff. All right, so it took me a minute of looking at this one and looking at that car to figure out what the heck is going on. This is just a little running light. It goes up in here. They clearly did not have a bulb in there because these headlights, the Spec D headlights, they have these little halos around the headlights that act as, you know, the quote-unquote running lights. So theoretically, this bulb isn't needed. I'm gonna still put this back in here as a placeholder so it's sealed up. They do not have one on that side, so I'm going to take one of the connectors off of here on this one, just cut it off and stick it in the housing so it's sealed up. So basically I'm just going to cut this off, wire these direct to each other, and then that'll be that. Because these come from the vehicle harness, come up here, you know, they splice into here and this goes to the running lights and all that jazz. So yeah, it took a minute to figure out, but now that I understand what exactly is going on, I can get this figured out, you know, get this taken care of. So cut that one there. Do these one at a time so I don't get things mixed up. And that's another thing, if you're doing wiring, when you go to do wiring, make sure you do, you know, one wire at a time or one set of wires at a time. So like these two need to be spliced together. Do these ones first, get those taken care of, and then do these ones. That way you don't get anything wired backwards and mixed up, and you don't have wiring issues that are gonna cause you to go insane and a later time. So make sure you do them all one at a time. And when you're doing the heat shrink, make sure that you keep your flame or your heat source moving. You don't keep it stationary, because one thing you can do is you can start burning the wiring. You don't want to do that. So just keep your flame, your heat source moving. If you've got an actual, if you're using like an actual flame, like a torch like that down there, or they make those little, I don't know what you want to call it, those little mini torches. Some of you guys might know what I'm talking about. Anyways, if you're using some kind of flame, make sure you hold the flame back a little bit so again you don't burn up the wiring. And same concept, keep the flame moving. So this one I'm gonna cut that and that. And like I said, these I'm gonna snip right there, because these aren't needed. This is just going to be a placeholder. Goes back in just like so, just to keep it sealed up. So what you guys see here is I've upgraded these to LEDs. I'm going to do the same onto these ones, because these are just still incandescent. So I'm going to upgrade to the LED. So what I need to do, pull this out. So this little thing here is a resistor. For those of you that know what I'm talking about, these little resistors provide the resistance. LEDs have a lower resistance than a regular incandescent bulb. So what'll happen is if you just straight put an LED in and you don't do anything else, you just put the LED light in there and then you roll with it as is, like this. If I were to just put the LED in there, what'll happen is because it doesn't have the same resistance, the light's gonna blink fast because the wiring has a certain, you know, the car is expecting a certain resistance from the bulb. So if you put an LED in there with a lot less resistance, the bulb's gonna flash brighter. It's the same thing if your bulb burns out. That's the same concept. So you wanna make sure you put the resistor in there to give the wiring the resistance that it's looking for, so it blinks slowly, you know, at the normal pace. So that's what we're gonna do. Don't need that. I'm gonna take that. This is pretty easy. So the way that this works is you just splice the wire into here on one end, the other end onto this side, and then you wire it in together. I'll show you what I'm doing, what I do when I actually get there. Again, when I do this, I'm going to only do one at a time, just so things don't get confusing. It's a smaller. So one thing that's going to happen is I have to use a little bit bigger of a butt connector because these are going to have two wires. This one actually might be too big. Let me go grab a small one. But basically, so what has to happen is it's going to be the same concept as this wire here. I'm going to have to fold this wire down on itself to make it a little bigger because I'm going to have two here. So it'll be just a little bit thicker. But maybe I can get away with it, having a smaller one. Let's try it. Why not? Experimentation, right? Don't know unless you try. Here we go. Take this. Twist these together. Oh, check that out. Check it out. Yeah, that'll work perfectly. Yeah, you know what I almost forgot? Heat shrink. Let's see. This one might be too small. Oh yeah, that is way too small. That's the same size. All right, so yep, this one it is. Hey, guess what? I don't have enough room. Where did my knife go? There it is. All right, where did I set my heat shrink? Here it is. You know what? I'm gonna double it up anyways. It's okay that it was a little too thick. That's actually a good thing.